Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tuesday, July 11th, 2023, Tenino City Council work session. Let the record show that all council members are present for the work session. We have two discussion items on the agenda tonight during the work session, and that is the proposed dog park and Resolution 2023-04. So we will open up discussion on the dog park proposal. Jen, did you have any updates from staff?
No, I don't.
So again, we have a citizen that's interested in declaring what we call the triangle, which is city property on the corner of Fifth and MacArthur and Park. So it's a kind of a confluence of streets. So we have opened it up for discussion. We want to put it out there to all parties. I asked that staff draft up a notice for any houses in that area to be sent out in their water bills. We will hold at a minimum one public hearing to discuss the proposal, and we are exploring what, if any, are I doubt there's any requirements, but there are probably some standards to follow that are put out by I'm guessing, but there's likely some kind of dog park association or American Kennel Club. Somebody out there would have some recommended standards that we will research. There's a dog park in North Thurston County.
Now, is this going to be fenced?
It would need to be fenced for there to be, because the whole intent is for there to be an off-leash area. There are a lot of people that informally use the baseball fields as an off-leash dog area because it's fenced. And, well, most of the time that's okay. That does result in some people not picking up the dog leftovers. And so then that, causes problems with baseball and things like that. So having an intentional space is probably a good idea. But
is there going to be like toys or anything in there for the dogs? Are we going to put anything in there?
That is all to be determined. Right now we have a citizen that would like to be able to raise money to pay for the fencing, and it is good to put like dog amenities in there. You put little things that they can run over, or I don't know, like sand for them to dig in. I really don't know much about dog parks. I've went by the one in Hawks Prairie. My dog's been there many times. He tells me he likes it, but I have not taken him. He takes the bus.
Wayne, would Public Works be maintaining it?
Where is it in North Thurston? Excuse me.
No.
Where Hawks Prairie transfer station is, the landfill.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's right in that area.
Maybe I'll run out there and take a look.
Yeah.
What it looks like.
It's cool. It's big. Theirs is much bigger than ours would be. Rachel, what was your question?
Will Public Works be the ones maintaining it?
They would, the city would be ultimately responsible, but, a lot of these places, the users
Are you saying you?
do a very good job maintaining them. So, you put up dog park rules, clean up after your dogs,
Right.
Make sure they don't fight. There are specific rules that you put out there, and usually the dog community does a good job maintaining it, because if they don't, then you shut it down.
Mm-hmm.
Just like any other park amenity, if people are using it improperly and it's costing the city too much time, then reevaluate it. But typically the community of owners or users are pretty good about taking care of and maintaining. You could even put together like a group, like the library has the Friends of the Library that take care of the library. You could have a dog park, maintenance group or something like that.
Well, right now, we already maintain that spot because it's city property, so we already mow it and do that. But I think the reason we're looking for the commitment of the piece of land to go to that purpose is so that the citizen can partner with the Park Foundation and apply for some grants to get some fencing, which is, you know, essentially $10,000 to $20,000 probably to fence it. I know you have to, I know some of the rules, you have to have a small dog area. You have to be,
Oh,
you
keep them
know,
separated.
yes. Yeah, you gotta keep it fair. So you gotta have a small, right, you
Yeah.
get picked on. So, I do know there's already water there, cause I'm sure you would have to have a drink area,
Yeah.
you know, things like that, so.
Yeah, and so we're not running towards this, we're
Yeah.
walking towards this.
Yep.
And, you know, part of the puzzle is we talk about it in front of the man here who ends up putting it in the newspaper. And then, you know, we field phone calls and emails and, you know, read social media posts and kind of try to gauge the temperature for if people want it. And of course, we want to be respectful primarily to the folks that live in the area of the proposed dog park, because you would be, you know, kind of altering their living conditions potentially. So,
Probably no dogs in before 8 o'clock in the morning or after 10 o'clock at night, that kind of thing.
The one at the Hawk area is 7 o'clock at night.
7, well, that's even, you know.
Or
But
dusk,
in the
whichever.
summertime, it's
Or dusk,
later,
whichever comes first.
you know.
okay.
But normally you don't mow your lawn before 8 o'clock or after 10 o'clock at night, that kind of thing, because of neighbors is
Mhm.
what I was,
Unless you don't like your neighbors,
well,
then you're mowing at
Okay.
6.
post about all the bang, bang, boom, boom.
Yeah.
boom, and then the next day, okay, I just got up at
Yeah.
5:45 and mowed my lawn.
Exactly.
I should too, because everybody here knows how I feel about fireworks, so.
You love them. All right. Any other thoughts or comments on the proposal? So we are walking, not running, and we're gonna kind of, you know, wait and gather information and take comments phase. Thank you. Next item is resolution 2023-04. This is a resolution to amend police officer salaries. So this proposal was brought forth from the administration and from the chief of police. This is an effort to have more competitive salaries for our officers. We looked at, as you all recall, we looked at how our salaries compared to like cities, and we are dramatically below any potential comparables. We are most likely the lowest paid police officers in Western Washington, and that presents problems with recruitment, retention, and with the caliber of recruits that we are able to get. So this is an effort to stave off some of the problems that we have had, and this is an effort to combat any possible retention crisis. I will read the whereases and then open it up for discussion. Whereas the City Council has reviewed the changes set forth below, whereas the City Council acknowledges the overall budget will not change, so the salary amount in the ordinance that set the budget will not change, and it is understood that the fourth officer position, which is now vacant, will not be filled at this time, but remain in a suspended status until review again by council. The City of Tenino Police Department is adjusting the steps for police officer wages if this is adopted. Step 1 would be adjusted to from the range would be from $3,967 to $5,445. Step 2 from $4,265 to $5,730. Step 3 from $4,592 to $6,032. Step 4 from $4,812 to $6,334. Step 5 from $4,934 to $6,651. Step 6 from $5,180 to $6,982. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Tenino, Washington, that the following changes are hereby amended and adopted as the 2023 salary schedule for the City of Tenino unless superseded by action of the City Council. Therefore, the City Council hereby resolves and declares that the above described rate plan serves the City of Tenino. So we had a presentation, last meeting? 2 meetings ago, and you saw the various salary schedules for agencies within the county and agencies throughout Western Washington. And in an attempt to be competitive, we have offered these changes. And again, this would not affect the overall budget, but it would reduce us from 4 to 3 officers for the time being. And then we will begin discussion on how to get back to 4 officers. That discussion would be based upon the assumption that the public safety sales tax initiative from the county goes forward. And based on the discussions that we've had, I get the sense that the council has an appetite for supporting that sales tax initiative. So we ultimately want to be at 4 officers. We've had assurances from the chief that we are able to operate at 3 officers plus him. That's not our happy place, but that is a place that we can provide adequate public safety. Chief, do you want to start any part of the discussion about this resolution?
No, so, thank you.
Is your microphone on? Just checking.
It should be now. I just wanted to reiterate a couple of things. It's not our, like I said a couple of weeks ago, it's not our optimal position to want to be in, but it's a realistic one and a sustainable one at this point in time. I understand the process that all of these issues have to go through in order to get adopted or implemented, but we are down to the wire. I've got 1 officer that has officially removed his name from another hiring list to leave Tenino. He's already committed to staying in the hopes that this will go through. I did say that is his decision, that nothing is final until it's final. And the other officer that has a conditional offer of employment is waiting for the city's decision to rescind his offer. So we stand to maintain the force that we've got now. 1 officer's got almost 5 years on here, and the other officer has got almost 2 years on here. So we stand to retain a ton of institutional knowledge and knowledge of our city. They're already trained and ready to go. But we do have to move on it. And I know that we don't make policy based off of 1 individual employee, but the ramifications of not moving on this could put us back 18 months before getting another officer on the road to replace somebody if we miss them by a week. So with that being said, an interesting piece came out today by, I think it's Q13 News, and I'd like to read portions of the article. There's a lot of data from WASPIC, which is the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs. The Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs has been collecting criminal data for the state since 1980. In its 43rd report, the numbers are alarming. This latest report shows the numbers of people murdered in Washington state has surged, yet the number of commissioned law enforcement officers continues to plummet. It's common knowledge at this point, since the time of the pandemic, Washington has been hemorrhaging law enforcement. Washington has the lowest number of police officers per capita in the country. In regard to crime, it's not just homicides that are up, robberies, vehicle thefts as well. Almost 400 people were murdered in the state last year alone, with an increase of 16% from 2021, compared to the all-time high of 394, said Steve Strahan, the executive director of WASPIC. This is a 96% more, this is a quote, this is 96% more murders than we had in 2019. We have never seen murder rates this high in Washington. This is not the same as every national trend, Strahan said. It is not. I've sensed sometimes people like, quote, well, there's nothing we can do about it. It's a national trend. It's like this everywhere. Well, the data is not reflecting that right now. Strahan said this is something policymakers need to confront along with individual communities. We also compare the current data to numbers back in 1994, a time when gang violence was up and the numbers of murders and rape were surging. That correlation is an important one. And to think about the fact that there were 2,000 more police officers and deputies on the streets, if we still had the same relatively low per capita crime numbers than we had in 1994, Strahan said. In 2001, Washington lost 500 police officers and deputies. The officers per capita number fell to the lowest on record in 43 years, and the lowest in the country, period. There were no improvements in 2022, with the state losing 70 officers. Another statistic of concern, according to this report, is the number of violent crimes towards officers and deputies has risen 20% since last year, at 2,375 assaults on officers. That is a number that is wholly unacceptable, Strahan said. We have to find a way to change that. It shakes me to the core that the number of officers was assaulted, which really makes up almost a quarter of the officers in the state of Washington were assaulted last year. If Washington had a national average of officers to population, we would have more than 7,000 officers commissioned than we do right now. So the state is 7,000 low. So I just wanted to drive the point home a little more. I know these aren't fun statistics, and oftentimes my reports aren't the greatest because we're dealing with the criminal element quite frequently. And I'd like to touch on something when they said that we've lost 70 officers in the state of Washington last year. Those numbers can be viewed a couple of ways. If an agency had 2,100 positions available and they eliminate 200 of them, it's going to falsely report that takes away from that lost number. So I'd like to just reiterate that I think that this is a necessity for the city, it's a necessity for the citizens, and would have an overall positive effect on public safety in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Is there any discussion from council on the subject?
Yeah. One thing that's not mentioned in there is before the pandemic, when there was a call for officers, there'd be something like 15, 16 people per application. Right now, they're lucky if they get 2 people per application. So we're falling way behind.
But I think these are the right steps. We're dealing with small numbers of officers here, and I've already got commitment when they said the reasons that they were leaving, and they were, wholeheartedly wanted to stay, and one of them was already put in my mayor's office, and the other is prepared to do the same thing, to maintain our current force that we have now.
Is there any reason that we can't act on this tonight?
Well,
To adjust the agenda.
yeah, so, no, hold on, Jack. Just- I can handle that one. So we wanted to put it on the work session for discussion. Like we have a general rule where we want to touch something 3 times, and that could be touched by staff, and I don't like the word touched. Seen, addressed, worked on by at least 3 times. This has been worked on multiple times over. Some of those touches are from staff. Some of those are from council. This has been presented in front of council. This has been discussed prior, and this has been presented in a work session. It's currently being reviewed by legal, so the council could, if they so choose, when we present the agenda, somebody could make a motion to move this to the agenda under old business for consideration, and you could make a motion to adopt resolution 2023-04 pending legal approval. But that doesn't mean that would mean that if we do get feedback from the attorney, that is different, or there was some suggested language to be changed, we would then have to bring it back to council with those legal suggestions to be considered. So you could move it, make a motion during the agenda approval to put this on the agenda tonight, and then you could make any number of motions, but if you wanted to approve it, you would need to approve it pending legal. And then the administration would just need to make sure that if there was any legal suggestions, that we brought it back to you. If it comes back clean from legal, then it can move forward.
Well, I just think it's necessary to get the ball rolling on this thing, not wait another 2 weeks for legal. That's the way I feel about it.
Okay?
May I add one more? I want to speak very frankly, casually. My fear is that if we don't get moving on this and one of my officers gets the yes or no right now, what are you going to do? He's going to go.
Yeah, that's clear. That's totally clear.
Okay. And then that.
I think you've done a good job. You've done a very good job conveying that.
If that happens, the ramifications of that happening we'll work through them, but it's gonna potentially be an 18-month setback.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it'd be another 18 months before we have to, you know.
So it's a council's decision. Are there any other comments or questions?
I'd like to know how the rest of the council feels about putting it on the agenda.
Well, yeah, I mean, we don't make decisions outside of the business meeting, but you guys can discuss it. But, we want to be careful that we're not in the business meeting, so we don't make business decisions in the work session. We present information, we talk about it, we get a chance to work through it if there's anything that, you have concern with or you want staff to work on. But I think if you want to move it forward, the way I explained the procedure is pretty clear, right? And we kind of went through that at a recent meeting on a different issue. Any other thoughts? Okay,
So,
go ahead.
so if we move it forward and we're waiting on legal, and legal comes back with some flags, will we be able to review those flags before
You would have to.
pushing it, right?
So that is your direction to me, would be like, yes, Mayor, move this forward pending legal approval. If there's no legal approval and Rick says, well, whereas number 5 needs to say, thou shalt not, therefore this, the other thing, then I take that, I bring it back with red letters in the things that he has said to change.
Yeah.
And you guys review it from that point on, and you either accept his changes, or you make the changes, or you say, well, and we're not worried about what the attorney has to say.
I have a question for the chief.
Yes, ma'am.
If this goes along like the mayor's saying, and he comes back and says there's a whereas it's not right, you would be able to convey that to your officers? Okay, and then that would keep them from leaving, right?
That's what I was going to ask, and this is a question. So if moved forward, I can report to my staff, and that makes the commitment known and the intentions very clear, and then, barring some bombshell of a legal issue that presents itself, it is essentially then just form and matter and not content or commitment. Okay. Is that correct?
Likely.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything's possible, but the intent should be pretty clear.
Okay.
And I think it already should be, and that should already be conveyed. And I know that it is.
And it is, and I want to be able to report to my staff
Yep.
where
Okay.
we're at with it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. I have a feeling we'll be talking about that again tonight. So let us talk about some reports. Well, we have some time left on the work session, 5 minutes. Chamber of Commerce, we did not hear from George tonight, correct?
No, we didn't.
So we'll move through the George reports, and we will talk about South Thurston Fire. Which one of you fire commissioners would like to?
Nothing. Thursday's our meeting.
Okay. Linda, the librarian, she gives a solid report last time. Museum. Jen's over there on Instagram.
I have just a report.
You sound enthusiastic.
Wait for your permission, sir.
Oh!
Jubilee was a success. We had our first Skyhawk basketball camp happening this week. Sandlot League is going great thanks to Darnella's dedication. We're learning how to use our new sound system, which we purchased using Port of Olympia Small Cities grant. It will be used this Friday for Movies in the Park that is showing Top Gun Maverick, as well as at Oregon Trail Days weekend, July 21st to 23rd. We also now have affordable insurance set up for third-party functions at all city facilities.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's through AWC and it's a dream. It's great.
Good.
Tenino Community Service Center, not present. Civil Service Commission, Facade Improvement Grant Review Committee. Is there anything to report?
Well, interesting, the Sandstone Distillery, closed their shop here in Tenino. But Stone City Farm, that has creams and soaps and things, they are moving into that space. And I understand that where Shiplap was, is going to be a donut and coffee shop with tables inside for people to sit. So, yeah.
The question is, would they be eligible for the grant? Is that what you're?
No, I'm just telling you what's
Oh,
going
okay.
on in town.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
coffee
right.
and donuts.
Finance Committee has not met. Planning Commission meets probably not meeting tomorrow. It is the next week. Public Safety Committee, Chief of Police. Can you do a report in 2 minutes?
On the department,
Yes.
I think we've already know what our
Okay.
battle is right now.
Public Works Director, did he provide you with anything?
Hodgson Street Pre-Con meeting was last week. Construction is set to begin the first week of August. The project is set to be completed in just 15 days from the start of it, so that'll be fast. They're continuing to screen dirt for the park. Fencing went up around the toys and the pump track. Quarry House railing and entry are complete. STP is this weekend, so they're going to be doing some crowd control for that. The banner is hung for Oregon Trail Days over Sussex. And the metal art banners are all complete and turned in, and they are hoping to have them up before Oregon Trail Days weekend.
Yay.
Thank you. Clerk Treasurer, do you have a report you can give in 2 minutes?
You got your counter with you? Your step counter?
Me and Maria met with Right Systems last week regarding a citywide update. We discussed going to the cloud and getting off of the server. This would apply to the police department, the museum, the quarry house, we kind of have a really out-of-date system. Someone before my time maybe set us up with some stuff that we don't actually need and isn't beneficial for us. It's going to be a very expensive process, but they are introducing us to a ton of cyber grants that are available. We actually have a meeting scheduled tomorrow to work on a big one. They just assisted Shelton in a $300,000 cyber upgrade, and they helped them get full grant for all of it. So we're hoping that they're going to help us, and we don't speak the same language, obviously, of this tech stuff, so hopefully they'll help us. Submitted the pool and quarry house reimbursements as well as the Happy Grant. I wanted to share that we have that renewable energy class that Department of Commerce is doing on the 20th here at City Hall. That will be in the evening. And we are getting ready for budget season. We just registered to attend the municipal budget and fiscal management workshop in Leavenworth in August. So more on that to come.
Excellent report. Thank you, Jen. All right. Code Enforcement Building Inspector, not present. It is 7:30. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the July 11th, 2023 Tenino City Council meeting. Let the record show that all council members are present. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Feels like I'm getting less and less space.
Jason's scooting over.
My bad.
All right, let's make room for Rachel, everyone.
It's all about princess.
Oh. All right, we have an agenda before us needing approval.
I recommend that we add to the agenda Resolution 2023-04 under new business, under old business.
We have a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of Resolution 2023-04 under old business. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Thank you, Chief.
Can we talk about, because I have a question about it.
You can only talk about the procedure of adding that to the agenda, and if you want it on the agenda or if you don't want it on the agenda. If you want to talk about that resolution, you would allow it to be put on the agenda and then discuss it once it comes up as an agenda item.
So I'll just wait for an agenda item then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless what you want to talk about is adding it to the agenda.
Oh, no.
Okay. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Okay.
Say what you want to add. What you want.
Any further discussion on
What's that?
the agenda, the motion to approve the agenda with the addition of Resolution 2023-04? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Brings us to the approval of minutes for the 6/27/2023 Tenino City Council meeting.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. That brings us to the consent calendar. This is a consent calendar consisting of June 28th, 2023 through July 11th, 2023. Payroll EFTs in the amount of $36,022.39. Claims checks number 31509 through 31548. And EFTs in the amount of $213,050.23 for a grand total of $249,050.23, and no liquor or cannabis license renewals.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next on the agenda is we have no executive session. We have no presentations. Now is the time for public comment. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to provide public comment, you can do so now at this time. You'll be given 3 minutes. Please state your name and address.
Dave Larson, 1122 Central Avenue East. I just wanted to expand on that meeting on the 20th a little bit. You probably all know there's hundreds of millions of dollars in grants to go for renewable energy projects. They're being given by the state and the federal government. I know maybe we all don't agree on if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but the money's out there and it's going to go to some communities, whether it's us or somebody else. So the Department of Commerce set up a group to assist small cities. As you probably know, it's easy to make a project and say, here, we would like to do this, but getting through the process of getting grants and filing for them is very complicated, especially when you're trying to work between the city and the federal government. So they specifically put this group together to assist small cities in developing projects and helping assisting them with getting the money to actually do them.
But this is just going to be them.
Let's hold off, please,
They're
during
just
public
presenting-
comment.
They're just here to tell us what they can do for us and seek comments from people, what they think would be good. A couple of my ideas are the wastewater treatment plants, a large user of energy in our city. The school district's the largest I would like to kind of focus on and see what if there's something we can do to reduce our utility bills for the city at the wastewater treatment plant, and maybe work with the school also to reduce some of their, they have huge energy bills at the school district. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know what this is all about, and like I said, I know everybody doesn't agree with everything about renewable energy, especially when it comes to the environment, because we have the ability to save the city and the school district if we can get something together, a lot of money. I think our wastewater is like over $1,000 a month.
It's nearly 5, I believe.
Yeah, so if we can even get half of that, because that's, $12,000 to $24,000 a year. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of expand on what that's all about, and we're gonna try to do it online also, so if you can't make it here personally, that you can watch it. I still gotta figure out how that's gonna work. The state has their own system, and I just gotta figure out how we're gonna.
Our staff will take care of that.
Okay, so anyway, I just wanted to let you know about that.
And I printed out the flyer, there's some over there if anybody wants any on the table.
I am gonna invite, Dakota and Rainier, and try to get some of our other cities so that they just know what's going on also. Maybe they can take advantage and get some of this money. I just see it bringing back our tax dollars to our small communities. So
What about, Dave, I'm sorry, what about the school district having them come?
Yeah.
Because,
I was gonna send it, I just tried to
Right.
make sure everybody's okay with it, so I will send it to them probably tomorrow.
Yeah.
I actually thought I might even, just send something to our, state representatives, so even if they can't be here, they're aware of what's going on, and maybe one of their staff or somebody can watch and see what we're talking about here.
All right, 3 minutes. If Dave has, or Mr. Watterson, or has anything else that he'd like to contribute, he can continue if the council allows him to go beyond 3 minutes.
That's all I had.
Okay.
Unless you got any other questions.
Okay, thank you. So we do have a flyer, and the city will be sending it out. We've already posted it on social media. I would highly encourage everybody to share it on their own social media pages, and then we will of course send it out to our neighboring communities. So.
We really want citizens involved too. That's part of their whole thing, is making sure our citizens understand what's going on, and give them an opportunity to speak up if they have anything that they.
All right.
Sorry.
Thanks, Dave.
Public hearing, we have none. Proclamations, we have none. Old business. Under old, and where did the chief go, in case he had anything?
Didn't call.
Okay, did he?
Yeah. Do you want to reintroduce?
Well,
is this when it's open for
Because
discussion?
Discussion comes
Right.
after a motion and second.
But this is when you can.
under old
ask
business, we have
questions.
item, it would, well, it wouldn't be out of 5.
2023-04.
Well, we could call it item 6 and then renumber all the other items. Item 6, this is resolution 2023-04. This is amending the police officer salaries. I did read the resolution during the work session, and I can read it again. But it was asked to be included by Council Member O'Callahan. So I will, if you have a motion to make,
Yes, I do.
okay, go ahead.
I move that we approve resolution 2023-04 pending legal review.
We have a motion.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion to pass resolution 2023-04, amending police officer salary pending legal review. We have a second. I will open it up for discussion. The motioner has the floor. That's you.
Yeah. I've been, as you guys know, I've been here a long time. I've watched our department go from 2 people to 5 people, back down to where we are now, where we'll have 3. When I first became council, I did a lot of research with other jurisdictions that were about our size. And just about the entire time I've been on council, we have been one of the lowest, if not the lowest as we are right now, as far as pay and benefits. I can understand why, because of, we don't have that large of a tax base, but things are changing, our population is changing, our tax base is getting a little bit better. Because we also have online sales that tax money comes back to us. That's been helping us out a lot. It helped us out during COVID a lot. So this is a time that we need to not just say to our officers, thank you for your service. We need to show them that we understand and we appreciate their service. And I do believe this pay scale will do just that without hurting the city budget.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else that would like to make comment?
Yeah, well, it's for the chief, but he's not here.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to know, like, with the 3 officers they have now, how is the overtime?
It's a good question. We do not have a minimum staffing level. So, there is no like mandatory staffing level at all by any kind of contract or anything like that. We have this year had some increase in overtime costs that we are trying to work out. So there are repercussions, but it comes down to like when somebody is going to training or when somebody is on vacation and we need to make sure that there's one officer at least still on duty. We have seen an increase in our on-call time, and that is something that we're trying to mitigate working with the sheriff's department, and we're making headway there. We do need to go back to having no on-call time in the after hours and having the sheriff's department take priority 1 and 2 calls. We went away from that when there was with our previous sheriff, and there was a lot of kind of friction, but we've made improvements there, and we feel that we are heading in the right direction to again kind of fix that issue. We just had a meeting with the sheriff today, and I can pass that question off to the chief. So the question was, how has going to 3 officers affected our overtime budget? Where's our overtime budget now, and how would you mitigate increased overtime costs going to 3 officers?
So going to 3 officers, I would likely go back into the patrol rotation. So there would be no overlap with me. And then I'm at the very beginning of talks with the county on some sort of relief in times that we would traditionally be on call. So what my goal is to ultimately eliminate on call, extend the hours of the officers that are working, and have a very small period of time where, with Thurston County's cooperation, we could potentially have them provide services on an a la carte basis. We started looking at our call volumes between the slowest times of the night, and they're very, very inconsequential. We have just a few every month. We're paying an officer every night to be on call during those hours, and when you do the math on what we're spending on on-call hours versus having a deputy cover one single call once every week and a half or 2 weeks, the savings would be in utilizing that service instead of continuing our current on-call practices. And then also with the addition of a competitive pay scale, my expectations of the hours that they work are going to be later to further mitigate the cost of on-call. On-call is costing us more than overtime. And it's not necessarily overtime on the particular shifts that they're working. They very rarely get held over for a report. It's mandatory training, Oregon Trail days. There are things that we just simply can't avoid. But those same issues are present with our current pay structure, and a 4-officer staff.
I'm very happy that you answered it the same way I did before you walked in.
Okay.
I was like, oh man, I hope he doesn't go. Like, we're gonna have an issue if he goes at this.
Do we do-
Totally. So that is good. I'm glad we're on the same page.
Yeah, you guys are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, some of it is that the only. I mean, to be frank, I don't think, but for some of the larger cities or cities that are just financially solvent. I've never heard of a police department coming in under budget. But
We have every year until now.
I mean, maybe Seattle PD with 700 vacancies, and that's a legitimate 600 or 700 vacancies. But as far as us crunching these numbers, I can only do it off of what our budget is, what our goal is, and what our current trends. And I haven't checked the latest budget update, but as of a couple of months ago, obviously we have a vacancy, that's helped. But at the 6-month mark of the year, we were roughly at 52%. So, and last year I think we were under budget by maybe $13,000 or $14,000. So nothing's a guarantee, but again, I've got some management duties to do and some marching orders to pass down to the officers on additional expectations for this generous, motion by the city.
Okay.
So that's the next goal is schedule, elimination of on-call, and expectation level on how late they're going to be here.
You feel confident that Thurston County would work with us?
I do. I don't know if I'm out of my lane here, but I've had some just roadside conversations, just running into administration, and they were very, very open to it. There had been times in the past with county covering calls that there would be an inflated numbers. Maybe there was just not a lot of assurance that the best interests of the city of Tenino were in mind when they were potentially billing at a certain point in time. With Sheriff Sanders, my impression is that his goal is to continue to build the relationship with us. And this isn't canned. We've come a long way with the county and our relationship. And his goal is to continue to build that relationship and not do anything to compromise it, so that we do have a strong partnership with the Sheriff's Department. So I can only assume that everybody's intentions are good. And and this is important, with the amount of calls that we have late at night, a priority 1 or 2 call, it's not a moneymaker for the county, even if they did overbill, or if it was in question, but maybe 3 officers could have handled it and they send 13, and then there's 13 people standing around, and then there's all those variables. But
They're waiting for the donut chateau.
yeah, they're waiting for the donut. But our call, the call volume that we get that would potentially we would be seeking help from the county on isn't large enough to.
There should be no texting.
I am
Up
not.
here.
They are texting me and I can't.
Okay, hold on.
This man, new phone.
So there's just not enough. It wouldn't be a money making venture, and it would be a relationship burner. And I don't foresee that
Well,
happening.
and it would be going back to a previous status quo.
Yeah, and
So for quite some time, that was the way we did it. That was the status quo, and that was changed. I want to say, 2018, 2019, for reasons that I personally could not understand with the previous sheriff, and I don't think there was no rational reason to change the nature of that contract that we had. And thankfully, we're in a different position with a different administration at the Sheriff's Department right now.
Yeah, and summertime isn't going to be nearly as bad because the school resource officer gets put back into patrol. So there you've got a quarter of your year where we're going to be, there's going to be an officer here very late at night, and only the very early hours of the morning we would have the Sheriff's Department handle a priority 1 or 2 call. And then the other 3 quarters of the year, we just work it and move people around. And like I said, the big part of that is keeping our staff here later at night. Because you're weighing, I mean, do I take cops out of the city when there's 4 schools that are fully populated, even though we have 1 school resource officer, all the businesses are full of people? Do I take a cop out of the city then and put him on at 11 o'clock at night to work till 6 in the morning and have 0 calls for service for 3 weeks? Or do I have that officer here conducting traffic enforcement, security at the schools? So it's just juggling, which this kind of goes back to this isn't our ideal spot, but it's a smart spot to be in to keep 4 strong officers on the department.
Okay,
Thanks, Chief.
thank you. Any other questions? Are there any other comments from staff? There was a budget question. Did you have any comment?
Yeah. I just wanted to clarify that the on-call is not in the red. It's the overtime that is in the red, if anybody wanted to look at that budget. And then I just also wanted to reiterate the other departments in this city to think about the staff and how they feel. If we're eliminating a position from one department, if that opens the door for another department to come in and say, hey, we're down a guy, we want to do the same thing. I just want everyone to think about if they came to you and said that same thing, what would that scenario look like?
All right, are there any other comments?
Call for question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Pending legal, correct?
That is how the motion was made.
Okay.
Those opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. New business, 2025 Growth Management Act Periodic Update Grant. This is,
Housekeeping.
Yep. So the city of Tenino has received a grant for $100,000 from Department of Commerce to perform its periodic comprehensive plan update. The grant award letter has been provided on the agenda. We are making a recommendation that council make a motion to accept the grant award.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. That brings us back to reports. We were at Park Specialist. I think you already gave her report. City Planner, Mayor, I have no update. I want to say that the 150th birthday celebration went amazing, that everyone in the city did an excellent job supporting the effort and putting it together. Jessica Reeves Rush especially put in a lot of work to put that together, and I think by all accounts it was a success. We're not going to have one next year because it wouldn't be the 150th, so 150 years later we can do the 300th. The council was very supportive. I want to thank all the council members that attended and helped out and showed up to support the event. Be that.
There's no report. They're done for the summer.
Okay, solid waste,
I have no report.
TCOM, Tenino School Board,
No report.
TRPC,
We have actually some pretty good news as far as the RT bus goes. We have a new 4-year grant, which will expand some of the services. And we have a 2-year grant that will actually add a lot more time and more service to our area, to the Tenino area. The only problem that we have right now is hiring bus drivers. So if you guys know anybody that's looking to drive one of those RT buses, have them call Intercity Transit because they're the ones that will do that type of hiring. But we are going to have expanded service with the RT buses
Thank you. Transportation Policy Board.
tomorrow.
Legislature, not in session. Public comment period number 2. If there's anyone in the public that would like to provide comment, now is your second opportunity to do so. You'll be given 3 minutes. Going once, going twice, moving on. Announcements.
September 9th, First Responders Potluck Barbecue. I just about have the flyers ready. I'm having a problem with the picture of the band. I'm having it up there, but it shows their name backwards, so I gotta figure out how that happened.
A mirror.
Flying sale.
Meeting, adult Lions Club garage sale, Linda?
Movies in the park Friday night at the park.
I gotta tell you something I found at the, what's going on, is it tomorrow night, the American All-Star Ball game?
Tonight.
Tonight? I found 2 glasses from the 2001
Oh, really?
Seattle, yeah. So I kind of set them aside, and I put a high price on them.
That's funny.
That's
Anyway,
what
we're
Seattle's
almost
doing
all
with
set
nice.
up, we're just pricing everything now, we'll be ready Friday morning. And I'd like it to be known that we are taking credit cards this time.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Man.
Coming up
All
in the world here.
technology.
Yep.
Finally caught up with Tenino.
Any other announcements? Movies in the park on Friday. They'll be showing
Maverick.
Top Gun 2, Maverick's Revenge.
It's a good movie.
It is a good movie. All right, meeting adjourned.
Non-debatable motion.